Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us. The last time I saw Jimmy was a couple of weeks ago here in New York, and it was during the official launch of their new direct-to-consumer platform. Jimmy, you called it one of the most important days in ESPN's nearly 50-year history. How's it going so far from your standpoint?
Thanks, Mike. So a couple things happened on August 21st. First off, we took our 12 networks, made them available direct-to-consumer, over 47,000 live events. First time in our history. And part two was we significantly enhanced the ESPN app. New features, new functionality. Fan feedback has been really positive on the app experience, and we're very pleased with that. At the same time, we've been very clear. You've heard me say this repeatedly, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but first inning, we're just getting started here in terms of these app enhancements. We've also been very clear that we are running parallel paths here. And what I mean by that is we continue to be invested in and prioritize the traditional pay TV environment, so much so that if you are a subscriber to a pay TV distributor and you log into the ESPN app with your credentials, you will get access to all of the features and functionality that we launched with on August 21st. So continuously adding value to the pay TV ecosystem. And so when we judge ourselves, we're looking holistically across our various platforms, and that means pay TV. That means ESPN direct-to-consumer. It also means ESPN on Disney+. And I think everyone knows this, but we're in market with a very attractive trio bundle, ESPN direct-to-consumer, Disney+, and Hulu. And when you're a subscriber to that bundle and you're within the Disney+ environment, you will see an ESPN, well, there's always an ESPN tile, but you'll have access to all of our ESPN programming. So again, we're gonna judge ourselves not based on any one platform, but holistically across those various platforms.
Well, I know you're a big Yankees fan, so first inning is a pretty good way to describe it.
Yes, I'm a Yankee fan, and it looks like we're in the playoff hunt right now. I think if the season ended today, we'd be the wild card, so that's good.
Let's talk about Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football is off to another strong start, and we've written in FOS that we believe that Troy and Joe are the best booth in the business right now. They've called 6 Super Bowls together, and they're ready for number 7 in 2027. How confident are you feeling knowing that they're going to be in the booth on February 14th, 2027 to call ESPN's first Super Bowl?
Well, first off, I happen to agree with you. I do think they're the best, and it's going really well. I think they're very happy I don't want to speak for them, but I believe that they're very happy at ESPN. We now have a new director in place, and when I've talked to both Joe and Troy, they've given me very positive feedback on the experience. You saw our ratings for the first week. We were thrilled. I think it was our second best opening week ever since we've had the rights. I believe that's the case. But in terms of our new deal, it's not so new anymore with the NFL. Yes, we have the Super Bowl in February of 2027 at SoFi in Los Angeles, which is great for us. Obviously, the Walt Disney Company has a strong presence in Los Angeles, so that's somewhat serendipitous for us. We have all hands on deck here as we gear up for February 27. So much so that Burke Magnus, our president of content, appointed Andy Tennant to a job where he, as a vice president at ESPN, spends all of his time, 100% of his time, focused on this next Super Bowl. On top of that, there are executives now at the Walt Disney Company who are working very closely with the folks at ESPN, focused on the Super Bowl. Our ad sales team is incredibly excited about it because of all the sponsors we have and the hospitality opportunity that we have in Los Angeles. So, yeah, we couldn't be more excited about this one.
Give you an idea of how excited they are about it. They have a countdown clock on campus. That's literally counting the seconds and minutes to the Super Bowl.
We do.
Jimmy, the deal everybody is still talking about is NFL investing in ESPN. Massive deal. Government has to take a look at it. How is that going so far? And do you envision ESPN possibly doing similar equity deals with other leagues?
We announced several deals in I guess it was mid-August, and the first deal was the equity transaction that you mentioned. The NFL will be taking a 10% stake in ESPN when the deal closes. In exchange, we will be acquiring the NFL Network, and our plan is to include the NFL Network in ESPN Direct-to-Consumer in the base tier of ESPN Direct-to-Consumer, again, when the deal closes. We will also be acquiring the Red Zone brand, and we will be acquiring the linear rights to Red Zone. The NFL will still own Red Zone, and they will still operate Red Zone. We will acquire the linear distributor contracts, the ad sales opportunities around Red Zone. And the third component of the equity transaction was us acquiring the fantasy business of the NFL. So ESPN, fantasy is a big part of our DNA at ESPN. We take a ton of pride in the successes that we've had on the fantasy side. And so this was a material component of the transaction for me and our executives to acquire their fantasy business and become the official game of the NFL. So that was really part one. Part two was us acquiring rights to additional games, and then there's another component where we were acquiring digital rights for our direct-to-consumer launch and rights to bundle with NFL Plus Premium. That includes Red Zone. That's in market right now. So for $39.99, you can get all of ESPN direct-to-consumer plus NFL Plus Premium with Red Zone. And then the fourth component, and this was really important to us, NFL Draft. There's a separate agreement, but NFL Draft is also a big part of who we are at ESPN. We've worked closely with the league for decades. We helped launch the NFL Draft.
You discovered the NFL Draft, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, in partnership with the league, but if you walk the halls of any of our offices, you're bound to bump into someone who's either working on the NFL Draft or has worked on the NFL Draft, but everyone's incredibly passionate about the NFL Draft, and we take a lot of pride in how we've grown it. And so as a part of these announcements, we were able to extend that deal around the draft.
Would you be open to similar deals with other leagues?
Yeah, sorry, right? You had mentioned that. Look, these transactions were very unique. They were incredibly complex. I think it's been reported we have been speaking to the league for many years on these deals, primarily the equity deal, but also the other components. We're very happy that we got them done, but they were very complex deals. That being said, look, if there's an opportunity with another league that we think it makes good business sense for us and also is beneficial for the sports fan, we're of course going to pursue it.
Very interesting. The Red Zone is a fascinating part of this deal. Because it's one of the most addictive brands out there. Everybody loves the Red Zone. And everybody's instantly wondering, is ESPN thinking about using that trademark to do a Red Zone for college football, to do a Red Zone for the NBA, NHL? Can you talk us through that?
As I mentioned, we are acquiring the Red Zone brand, so we would have that opportunity. And look, we've started to think about how we could potentially expand it to other leagues, but also other sports in general. And so college football is something that we've started to look at. It's a bit more complicated for the obvious reasons than on the professional football side, but it's definitely something that we're considering as well as other sports. And so none of this can happen until the deal closes. Again,
right.
Because that acquisition of the Red Zone brand was in connection with the 10% equity stake that the league will be taking.
When you say you're looking at college football, would it be just the rights that ESPN controls, or could there be discussions with Eric and the Big Ten and Fox down the road about using some of their highlights?
Both. We would love to have those conversations. If Eric's interested, if the folks at NBC are interested, if the folks at CBS are interested, we would love to have those conversations. But we can't get ahead of ourselves. The deal has to close first, and then we need the smartest people at ESPN to figure out what makes the most sense in terms of extending the Red Zone brand. Look, we're all fans of Red Zone. It's an incredible product. It's an incredible brand. Whatever we do has to be a brand deposit, not a brand withdrawal.
Yeah. Why does everybody think ESPN wants to change the Red Zone brand, and why is everybody blaming you for editing the commercials?
Look. Billie Jean King said pressure is a privilege. I think that's the case when you work at ESPN. It's fine. It beats the alternative when people don't think about you or care about what's happening within your enterprise. But yeah, I think you're referring to the ad sales component of Red Zone. I was curious. It was interesting for us, on the outside to watch this and to read about some of it on social. But again, the deal hasn't closed yet, and even when it does close, we are not operating Red Zone. The NFL will continue to own and operate the Red Zone product.
Let's talk about another league which has a 40-year relationship with ESPN, which is Major League Baseball. Can you give us an update on the status of those talks?
We love baseball. We take a lot of pride in how we've helped to grow the game. We take a lot of pride in our relationship with the MLB team, the MLB executive team. I think when I last spoke publicly, I said that conversations were healthy, Mike. And I would say since then, we've made good progress. I don't want to go farther than that, but we've certainly made good progress with Rob and his team.
Yeah. It seems that you don't want the previous deal. You want a new set of rights, a different set of rights. Is there anything you could tell us about what you would look for in this next deal, if there is a next deal?
Look, I'd go so far as to say that local is super interesting to us. And we've made that clear. I've said that before. We've made it clear to our partners and league executives. They understand that. And so just again, the macro point is good progress, but one layer deeper is local remains very, very interesting to us. And look, just to kind of back up, Mike, I consider ESPN to be the front door, the starting point for sports fans. The place of record. When something happens in the sports world, people turn to ESPN. But we really want you starting your sports journey each day with ESPN. It's one of the reasons why we launched a personalized sports center called Sports Center for You. It's one of the reasons why we launched a Where to Watch button across all of our digital pages, .com and the app. We will tell you when a game is on, where it's on, whether it's on our networks or not, which was a very polarizing concept initially within ESPN. Really, we're going to tell people when games are on our competitors' networks? And the answer is yes. Like, our mission is to serve the sports fan. And so again, we want to be the front door. We believe we are the front door. And so bringing this back to local, we believe that we can help solve some of the problems that exist right now in terms of local games and providing that discoverability, but also providing that access.
Yeah. Was there pushback in Bristol? Some people didn't want to do that, promote other leagues, other teams, other networks?
Sure. I mean, and it was all, look, I have a saying, discuss, debate, decide, align. So my direct reports and leaders around ESPN know that they can challenge me. I'm learning. Every single day I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to learn. And so I like it when people challenge. And so I had this idea 7.5 years ago that we should have a guide across ESPN Digital. And yes, there were many people who were like, well, hang on, take a breath. Like, do we really want to be promoting games that are on other networks? And I said, yes. Like, look on the wall. It says, serve the sports fan, not serve the ESPN, not serve the fan of ESPN games. Right. And so we got there, discussed, debate. There's a lot of debate. Then we made the decision as a leadership team, and we've aligned since then. And look, this is also relevant on the NBA side, right? Like the NBA now has NBC and Amazon, and so we're going to help, right? We're going to step up, and we're going to tell you where those games are on, when they're on, and we have no problem sending people to those games.
Yeah. As you all know, this year, Jimmy and Luis pulled off one of the biggest sports media trades in history, basically trading the license rights to Inside the NBA to ESPN in exchange for a package of college football games. Jimmy, to me, this is the biggest deal since Al Michaels was traded for Oswald the Lucky Rabbit.
You know that. I'm impressed. Yeah.
Tell us how it feels to get this show that is so iconic over to ESPN, and what can you tell us about the programming that's going to come up? How are you going to approach the show?
Look, as I think everyone knows, we are very open to the licensing model. It started with Jamie Horowitz and Omaha and Peyton, where we, now have Monday Night Football with Peyton and Eli, and that has gone incredibly well for us. We licensed in Pat McAfee's show, which has also gone incredibly well for us in terms of attracting a younger audience. And so this licensing model is now a part of our business. And so, yes, Luis and I had many conversations when it became clear to us that they were not going to renew their rights with the NBA. My first thought was, okay, what's going to happen to Inside the NBA? So I reached out to Luis, and we started to think creatively. How could we work it out so that the show continues, and also present the show along with the NBA Finals, right? Which has never happened before, right? And so yes, there was a barter, a trade that we made, and we feel great about it. As we get closer to the start of the season, Burke Magnus, our president of content, will announce the details in terms of programming and scheduling. But at a high level, Mike, think about marquee tentpole events for the crew. Think about Saturday nights on ABC, obviously opening week, Christmas Day, the playoffs, conference finals, NBA finals as a part of our deal, the 11-year deal that we did with the NBA. For 10 of those 11 years, we will have a conference final. And for all 11 years, we have complete exclusivity for the NBA finals. And so it's great to have the Inside the NBA team, supporting us throughout the season, but especially during the postseason and the finals. I also want to call out for the games where Inside the NBA is not on, we will have NBA Countdown. We just brought Mike Malone in, and he will join that team. And then going back to my point before about being the place of record, we have NBA Today. And so, we will continue to report out daily on most important news and analysis around the NBA. And we take a lot of pride in that. But Inside the NBA will be a fantastic addition to our portfolio of shows that cover the NBA.
Yeah. And by the way, ESPN just announced a contract extension for Malika Andrews, the host of NBA Countdown.
Yeah, we did this morning. Malika's fantastic, definitely a rising talent. The last point I want to make on Inside the NBA, I probably buried the lead, is Turner, I know you know this, Mike, Turner will continue to produce that show out of their Atlanta studios, and nothing is going to change from our perspective.
Yeah. Charles Barkley just said on a podcast that he's supposed to meet with ESPN folks to discuss the approach to the show. One of Charles's concerns is, will there be a post-game show when Inside the NBA tends to be at its best? Will there be post-game shows?
So again, Burke is going to get into this as we get closer to the season, but the answer to your question is yes, there will be. Again, our plan is to not, Turner's producing, our plan is to not change the show.
Yeah. On your number one announced team, there's been a lot of changes from Doris Burke to Tim Legler. Tell me about how you're approaching this new season, particularly since you're going to be under the microscope with Amazon Prime Video coming in and NBC coming back after 20 years?
So, yes, we moved Tim Legler into the primary of the A team. By the way, Doris will still call marquee games across our networks, marquee NBA games with Dave Pasch across our networks. And we love Doris. She's fantastic. We feel really good about our various teams covering. And going back to my point before, we actually are looking at the new deal that the NBA did with us, Amazon, and NBC as a rising tide. And I say this all the time, but I actually believe that Amazon is going to do a good job at bringing new fans in. And NBC with their broadcast coverage will be good for the league, will be good for the game of basketball. It's our job, and it's our job. When I say our, I mean all of us, all of the league partners, to make sure that we're promoting the league, that we're coordinated, and that we're letting people know where and when the games are on. And the three of us were just speaking to the NBA Board of Governors last week, and there was this amazing spirit of camaraderie. This spirit of we're all in this together. Again, let's grow the game of basketball. Let's grow the league.
Yeah, Jimmy, nobody could replace Coach Corso on College Game Day, but Pat McAfee and Nick Saban have been great additions, and I personally think that kicking segment is one of the best things on TV. Talk about McAfee's impact on the show and also his outspokenness on ESPN.
Yeah, look, ratings. I only have ratings through the first 2 weeks. We are in really good shape. Our first episode where we celebrated Coach Corso was our best episode of all time. And then week 2 was our second best episode of all time. So we're off to a really good start. When I think about ESPN at its best, I think about substance, heart, and humor. And if you watch that show, it's all three of those things. And we just take a ton of pride in its production. Pat and Coach Saban have been wonderful additions to the show. They are definitely helping to drive those ratings that I just mentioned. I love the kicking segment. I'm not sure those guys do because they're writing the checks. And it seems like more people are making the field goals these days. But it's great. It's a big part of what we do. And then, Pat's show, just going back to what I mentioned before about our priorities. Look, if you walk the halls of any of our offices, they will tell you direct-to-consumer, quality storytelling and programming, innovation, and then audience expansion. And when I think about Pat's show and why we brought Pat in, it was to help expand our audience. Pat resonates especially resonates with younger people. And when you look at our brand research, which we do regularly, it's mind-blowing to see how much Pat actually resonates with younger people, and also how that audience is growing month over month, year over year. And so yeah, he's been a huge part of our advancement with younger people. That and our efforts on social have really helped us. We've really made it a priority to be open and be where sports fans are today. And so we've built out a social media team that primarily creates content organically for these social platforms, and that's going really well for us.
Is it a challenge to manage people like Pat McAfee or Stephen A. Smith, who, as I said, are outspoken, have a lot of opinions, but also have their own production company, so they have a little bit of independence too? Look,
it's the world is changing, the industry is changing, right? And so we need to adapt. Someone like Stephen A., I get this question all the time. He's not exclusive to ESPN anymore, and he's doing his podcast, and he's on talk shows all of the time, political talk shows. Look, we actually believe at ESPN that the fan is sophisticated, and they understand that when Stephen is doing his podcast or he's on a political talk show, he's not speaking on behalf of or representing ESPN. We believe that the fan gets that. I would also say, Mike, again, going back to my point before on rising tide, if Stephen is building out his brand, on other platforms, we believe at ESPN that it's going to be beneficial, for example, for First Take, and that more people are going to tune in. So yes, I will acknowledge that this is a very different world. This is very different than ESPN 10, 20 years ago. This is not the kind of thing that we did. But we believe the pros far outweigh the cons of licensing in shows, of entering into a non-exclusive agreement with someone like Stephen A. And look, we talk with both Pat and Stephen regularly. We have open communication where we're giving feedback constantly. And to both of their credit, they listen. And they want to help us be better. They want to help us improve our ratings. And by the way, on ratings, it wasn't very long ago where folks were saying, especially folks in the sports industry, were saying the studio show is dead. Okay, if you look at our ratings for the month of August across our various studio windows, up and to the right, like double digits up, right? People are saying, well, you don't need highlights. They're one click away on Google. Okay, well, why look at our ratings? We are, in terms of how we're differentiating, it's delivering those highlights, but doing so with, yes, authenticity, with wit, with charm, with charisma. I think that's really what we're going for and what we're delivering for the sports fan today.
Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us at Tuned In.
Thank you.